episode 2 of the tier list series here on the West Ham Massive. And joining us again is a familiar face from our past. Ben, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm probably the disappointment of the relegation's kind of washing through me now, and just got to look forward now. So yeah, I'm back ready to contribute, and looking forward to this one actually, because it's an interesting one. Everyone's view will be different, and I'm looking forward to giving my opinion on who played well and who didn't.
Maybe stunk the place out, but okay. So we'll I'm sure we'll have a lot of people as we always do when you contribute, Ben. I get many emails about you. You're obviously the sort of like you're the bit of crumpet for people. I mean, I'm this grizzled old fart, and sort of nobody really comes here to sort of look at me. But obviously, when you're on the channel, there's a bit more interest, so it's all good. So
maybe,
yeah. So anyway, for those.
Well, Rob, just to chip in, mate, obviously I haven't been around much, but, I know you've reactivated the channel, and from what you were saying, we've had a fair few more subscribers off the back of your particularly gay-looking AI images. So, good on you, mate. Well done.
Yeah, well, I'm appealing to both sexes. No, I'll tell you what, you appeal to one sex and I appeal to the other. Excellent. So who'd have thought I'd become a gay icon by doing this YouTubing lark? But anyway, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, let's get on with it. And for anybody that's encountering us for the first time, welcome. Your presence here is very much something that we endorse. So if you haven't, please click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a like on this stream, give us a hype, and share us onto your socials. So let's share with the class the tier list. So basically, and I'll just go full screen with the tier list itself. So what you've got there is you've got 5 individual tiers above the West Ham first team squad for last season. Now, I have included a couple of players that probably didn't see that much in the way of action, but I've decided I'm going to include them just for a little bit of a conversation. And the 5 categories, as you can see there, Ben, are cream of the crop, did himself proud, decent, singularly underwhelming, and a waste of a fiver. It is your opinion, Ben. Nobody else's opinion that matters. So that's pretty much the long and the short of it. So, Ben, are you up to the challenge?
I'm up for it, mate. Yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in.
Good. So let's start now. I've not put these in any particular order. I've just sort of like pressed the button on my laptop and they've popped in there. And it just so happens that the first one sitting there could be quite an interesting one to chew over. Pablo.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, it's starting off with him. Now, I'm just going to make the screen bigger so I can see. Look, for me, he's definitely not in any of the top 3. People can say, oh, when he joined, there was an upturn in the team's fortunes. Yes, but I'm looking at this more on an individual level. Now, hold on, the bottom one's disappeared. I don't know, you're fannying about with it. Right, a waste of a fiver. Look, I actually think, how much did we buy this guy for? It was about 18 million, wasn't it?
Well, I've heard all sorts of numbers back. I've heard upwards of 24 million. Now, I don't know if that's based on clauses and all the rest of it, but I think it's somewhere in the realm of 20 million quid.
Well look, Rob, I apologise. You're probably more the statistician. I can't even say the word. the stat-o between us, right? Now, the geezer didn't score a goal, right? So I think he might have got one in the cup, but no. So he didn't score a goal. He got a couple of assists. He got a couple of like for me.
I think he only had one shot on goal, Ben.
Mate, look, he was quite a big physical presence, but for me, I don't think he was particularly quick. I don't think he was skillful at all or had a particularly good touch. There was a couple of games where I thought, maybe it's just going to take him a bit of time. But it didn't really show much from me. So I have to say, and I might be being a little bit harsh here, I'm going to put him as a waste of a fiver, because for me, for the money that we spent, I wouldn't want, bear in mind he's a striker, I want some goals. Called me fucking old fashioned. I want a striker to score a goal instead of just running around. And we had a chat yesterday, Rob. Oh, he works hard. Well, fuck me. I'm sure the geezer stacking the shelves in Tesco works hard, but you know, I don't want him to play up front for my team. So look, Pablo's going a waste of a fiver. Look, he might actually bang him in the Championship.
Maybe.
Because from my point of view, Rob, who's going to buy him? I feel like we're lumbered with him. You know what I mean? And if we are going to sell him, we might only get a fiver for him.
Yeah, it's about right. It is about right. I mean, saying about he runs around a lot, which, as I said to you yesterday, is that not a prerequisite for a Premier League player that's earning tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of pounds a week? That should absolutely be a given. He works hard. Like you say, he's a forward. Whether he's a striker in the true sense, maybe not, but he's a forward. He's an attacking player. And as I say, as far as I'm aware, the stats were 0 goals in all competitions. I think he got 2 assists.
Yeah.
And he, as far as I'm aware, he only actually had 1 shot on target. Now, for me, that's not a striker. You say what you want about, his engine, this, that, and the other. Well, okay, but I'll take a player that was the complete opposite in terms of his output in a physical sense. Let's take an old school player like Matthew Le Tissier, right? Yeah. Matthew Le Tissier was a very skillful player, but was considered something of a luxury player, borderline lazy bastard. Scored goals, got plenty of assists though. I mean, if you'd have given me a choice between prime Matthew Le Tissier and Pablo last season, mate, it's no contest.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the one plus point, his sister's pretty fit because
really?
I come across this woman on Instagram and she was going, "Oh, my brother, he's playing his first game for West Ham," and she was pretty hot. And I follow her on Instagram now, so you know,
is that his sister?
Apparently so. Yeah. So anyway,
excellent.
We'll move on because otherwise we'll be here all day at this rate. So
excellent. So another player that came in the same time as him, Taty Castellanos.
Oh yeah, mate, really good. Did himself proud. See, I'm going to put him in cream of the crop because do you know what? For me, you know, he chipped in with goals. He worked hard. He was good in the air. Scored goals, and do you know what? It was that Newcastle game that I think was the death. That was the nail in the coffin for us. Yeah. If you know, if we win that, I think we stay up. I can't remember if you know. And he was on the bench. I mean, Nuno. Maybe we'll come on to the manager another time. Nuno made a massive fuck up in that game, in my opinion, by changing the formation, dropping Taty, and then when Taty come on, he actually put most of the team to shame with how much he put himself about. Scored a great goal. So I think he was brilliant. Whether we can keep him or not, you know. I wonder whether the likes of Taty and Pablo, considering they joined in January and we was in the relegation zone, I wonder whether they have a release clause that can pretty much say if someone puts in a bid, pretty much what we bought them for, they can go. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think he's shown that he's a Premier League player. I mean, if we kept Taty in the Championship, I think he'd score like 45 goals.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was it? I was talking to Gio after the Leeds game on the boats, and he made the point that, was it Ollie McBurney for Hull scored 17, 20 goals, something like that. He turned around and said, if we can keep Taty in the champ, he will probably score that by Christmas.
Yeah. I think he's a very good player, mate. And actually, I didn't know anything about him really before we bought him. One of my mates said he'd seen him playing in America. I think when he played for, I don't know, who was it? New York City.
New York, yeah.
And he said, by far and away, he was the best player on the pitch. He's got a lot of good attributes. I really like him. And I think he had a great attitude, mate. And I'd have to say, wish him the best wherever he goes, because I think he's a good player.
Fair. Now, you mentioned Callum Wilson just a moment ago in reference to the Newcastle game, and he's actually the next one on the list, Ben.
I'd say Callum Wilson probably did himself proud.
I agree.
I think, look, he's knocking on. He's had a lot of serious injuries, and I think he probably couldn't have done any more in a West Ham shirt this season, other than he's probably he don't really have like a full 90 in him. But when he's come on, he scored some important goals, really important goals. You know what I mean? The Spurs goal, the Everton goal, a great header against Nottingham Forest. So he done everything expected of him. And again, whether he can do it in the Championship, he can definitely do something in the Championship. Do you know what I mean? But it's just whether he's got the fitness and the physical attributes to be the main man, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you could have him as your main striker over a 46-game Championship season. I'm not entirely convinced, but certainly as an impact substitute, starting the odd game here and there.
Yeah.
But there's talk that we've offered him a new contract, but there's also talk that Coventry, which is where he's from, and now a Premier League club, are also interested. So we shall wait and see. But he did himself, I agree. What the involvements he had, I mean, that goal that was chalked off against Arsenal, that goes, if that stands, then it's a whole different ball game. But it is what it is. But he obviously did what he needed to do. Finlay Herrick is the next one, Ben. Now, he didn't play a Premier League game. He came on at the latter stages of the Leeds United game, saw the game out, and in the first penalty that he faced in the penalty shootout, which we ultimately didn't prevail in, but he saved the first penalty. And so give me your thoughts on the young goalkeeper.
Mate, I'm going to have to say did himself proud because for a young lad that's thrown in, he didn't look like he went into his shell. He looked confident when he was collecting the ball and kicking it. He saved the penalty. And I think that, by all accounts, the lad's got a bright future. And look, if there's any minor positive from going down, is that you'd like to think the youth might get more of an opportunity. Probably unlikely that Finn Herrick's going to become our number one because we've got some experienced goalies unless they both leave, which is probably unlikely. But what I'd like to see is Finn Herrick go out on loan to like League One and just gain his experience because, I think he's England underage goalie at like whatever he is, under 18, 19. And I think he's got a bright future. So, did himself proud, the young lad. And it was like an unbelievable game, a dream moment for him. And I hope there's more moments like that for him in a West Ham shirt.
Season before last, Ben, Aaron Wan Bissaka was voted, rightly or wrongly, the Hammer of the Year, which is a fantastic accolade that goes back many, many years and has a lot of people of repute, such as Bobby Moore, Billy Bonds, Trevor Brooking, Julian Dix, all of these people and much more besides. And Aaron Wan Bissaka, season before last, carried off that accolade. How do you think he did last season as the defending Hammer of the Year as he was at that point?
Do you know what? I feel like when I'm looking through these players, I'm not sure there's going to be too many in the middle part. You know what I mean? Because I think
they're one or the other.
Yeah, they're kind of right at the top or at the bottom. I'm going to say a waste of a fiver, Rob. I think he was actually one of our worst players over the course of the season. I think on a lot of the games where we got beat, you can look at the goals and go, where the fuck was Aaron Wan Bissaka? Daydreaming, asleep at the back post, people creeping in. And, from my point of view, when he went to the African Cup of Nations, Walker Peters done well. When he was dropped, Walker Peters done well. I think Walker Peters was much, much better in the right back slot. And I was very disappointed with Wan Bissaka. I don't really remember. Maybe he did, but I don't really remember him getting much in the way of an assist. He probably did nick one or two, maybe, but I was very disappointed with him to the extent if he goes, I'm not saying I'll be happy, but it wouldn't be no skin off my. What's the saying? Skin off my nose? Is it? I can't remember.
Yeah, skin off my nose. Wouldn't be any skin off my nose.
I was going to say it wouldn't be any skin off my shoulders, but then I think that's enough. It'd be no skin off
Excellent.
my nose if that fucker leaves, because I think he's
Yeah.
a fucking. I don't think he concentrates for a game. I think he just goes, he disappears, and then all of a sudden we've lost the goal.
Well, that's a weight off my nose, Ben.
That's it.
So, anyway, Lucas Fabianski's the next one out the gate. Again, I appreciate he didn't contribute. I don't think he contributed a singular minute in any competition across the season, unless I'm very much mistaken. But maybe you view him not just in playing attributes. Maybe there's something else that you're thinking of.
Yeah, do you know what, Rob? It's one of those. I know you put him in here, and you said one of the other guys talked about in the changing room and all that. I don't know what goes on in the changing room. So look, on the basis that I respect Fabianski, I'm just going to say decent, because I don't think I can really say much else.
Yep.
And then we move on to players that actually had minutes on the pitch, from my point of view.
Yeah, this next one could be interesting. Maximilian Kilman. Now, I know your opinion on any centre half that has the Christian name of Maximilian, just by default. But tell me, £40 million the season before last. What were your thoughts?
Mate, do you know what? I'm going to say singularly underwhelming.
Okay.
Right? But because what I will, maybe I'm contradicting myself, right? I don't think he was a disaster in every game he played. Do you get what I mean?
Right.
I think we were better when other players come into the side. And there was actually a couple of games, one particular game, I think it was the Fulham game, where Scholes made the mistake and we lost 1-0. Yeah.
Yep.
And there was a few games in and around that period. I think that might have been AFCON or around Christmas.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, Kilman's been solid today, but then someone else made a mistake and we lost the game. So it was the fact that we lost, everyone just forgets who played well and who didn't. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So listen, I think he didn't have a good season. It was a bit of a calamitous season in a few ways. But what I will say is he didn't hide when he was put back onto the pitch. He'd give it his best shot. Unfortunately, his best shot weren't really good enough.
Yep.
But in the Championship, rebuilt with a bit of confidence against lesser quality players, I think Kilman can do a good job. So I'm not writing Kilman off.
Okay, fair enough. This is a player that came in on loan in the January transfer window, and I think it's unlikely that we're going to be able to do business to get him as a permanent signing in the Champ. But tell me what your thoughts were on Axel Disasi.
Fucking brilliant, mate. Like, one of the best centre halves I've seen in a West Ham shirt in a long time, and that's coming from a point of view is that when we bought him, people were calling him Axel Disaster, and I was one of them. Yeah, and I was thinking, this guy's he's fifth choice at Chelsea. Chelsea ain't even got a great defence, and he's nowhere, not even on the bench. I was completely wrong. I think he was just very calm, composed, physical, and he looked like he gave a shit from moment one. He had a lot of passion, and like you say, Rob, we ain't. I'd say it's 99% sure we won't keep him, because after those performances, there'll be some proper clubs that are interested in him. So I'm going to say probably cream of the crop. I think it was excellent when he come into the side.
So you don't think the fact that his auntie supports West Ham might sort of tug on his heartstrings a little bit?
Do you know what? I'd like to think, because I've got to be honest, mate, probably not Disasi, but there was a few embraces. I remember him and Nuno cuddling each other, so it felt like there was a good connection with a manager. And I think if Nuno can passionately say to a few of them, listen, lads, we'll be back and stick with us just for a season. And, it's one of those, not even for a season, right? I'm just saying, let's say for argument's sake, by Christmas, and I'm being optimistic here, let's say by Christmas, we're absolutely pissing the Championship. Then it's a case of, right, guys, we're going up, without a disaster. Or if we're not, if we're sort of floundering around, knocking around in the playoffs, you know what I mean? Nuno could go, okay, we give you a commitment. but it don't look like we're nailed on. We'll let you go at Christmas. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And for someone who sat on the bench at Chelsea all year, at least he's playing football still. He's getting paid to do a job that he loves. So who knows?
We'll see. You mentioned him earlier when we was talking about Aaron Wan Bissaka. It was obviously his understudy, Kyle Walker-Peters.
Did himself proud. Did himself proud, mate. You know, I think he's a little lad. He's probably a 7 out of 10 every game, a minimum.
Yep.
He's just a consistent player. He's one that I think might stay because I think he's been used to playing in the Championship. He's probably not going to go to a Premier League club and be a nailed-on starter unless it's like a Coventry or, you know what I mean, someone that's come up. Yep. And the reality is probably the likes of Coventry and Hull, we could probably still pay more wages than them anyway. You know what I mean? So he had a couple of really good games, never let us down. So I think he did himself proud in the West Ham shirt.
The player that pulled off the Hammer of the Year award, again, it's a matter of opinion, but factually he was the one that got the most votes, was Konstantinos Mavropanos.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know he won it. No.
Yep.
Do you know what? I'm going to say did himself proud. Yeah.
Okay.
But because I would say first half of the season, he would probably have been in the underwhelming category for me.
I agree.
And probably been underwhelming in his whole West Ham career. Up to probably the last half of the season. And then it just seemed to click with Disasi. And not only Disasi, actually, something just seemed to click that he's always had the physical attributes to be a centre-half. But again, he would just go missing or the positioning or whatever. But he just turned into a fucking absolute rock, you know, and was scoring goals at set pieces. You know, was incredible the last few, last half of the season. And I think Disasi coming in was part of that. But again, he's probably put himself in a shop window with clubs in Germany and this, that, and the other. But I would hope that there might be a chance that he stays. But I think it was a unbelievable turnaround in his West Ham career.
Fair. Talk to me about Songutu Magassa. Came in the summer transfer window as it was closing, whilst Graham Potter was still in charge. Wasn't long after that Potter was shown the door. But what did you think of Songutu Magassa?
I'd say it was decent.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was did himself proud. I wouldn't say. I think it was probably between decent and underwhelming. You know, the reality is there was a few games. Look, he's a young lad. To be honest, I don't know why we bought him. I don't think we needed another young central midfielder when we already had Fernandes and Potts. You know what I mean? So it was a strange purchase by Potter. And mate, actually, when you think about the whole season, Potter being the manager seems so long ago. That seems like a fucking 2 seasons ago, you know. So you kind of forgetting some of the games beginning of the season under Potter. But
yeah, they were instantly forgettable. That is for sure.
I've been trying to forget them, and
I've had therapy for them.
But look, he come in. I don't think on the games that he played, he was a disaster. I think there was a few games in and around. I remember us going to Old Trafford and getting a draw, and the midfield three was Fernandes, Magassa, and Potts. But the reality is,
and he scored.
He scored, yeah. So, but the thing is, there's no experience in there. Do you know what I mean? So, even though that they played well in individual games, it was no surprise that Souček come in later in the season, and Potts and Magassa both fell out because we needed some experience in there, and that's what you need to, as a team. But I think Magassa was decent enough. Whether he stays or goes, that remains to be seen. Actually, I think he's probably one you could ship out, get 15, 20 million for, and actually it's not going to make a big difference. So But if he stays, he'll probably be one of the best midfielders in the Championship, I would imagine.
Talk to me about Jean-Claire Todibo then, Ben.
Interesting.
He's fallen out with every single West Ham manager he's played under, it seems.
It's definitely one of the one out of the bottom two.
Yep.
I'm going to say a waste of a fiver.
Fair enough. That's an awful lot of fivers we spent on him.
Yeah. I just think he's like a fucking... His head's gone, mate. You know, he's an idiot. He is just a bit brain dead. Like that thing at Chelsea. You know what I mean? I know, like, we just lost a goal and he's got no composure. There was a couple of games he played all right. When I think against the Man City at home, and then we went to the back five, he played well. Now, do you know what, mate? Move him up to the singularly underwhelming. I think I was probably a bit harsh.
Okay.
There was a few games that I see him and I thought, oh, he looks good. But overall, I don't think he's... No, put it this way. When Disasi come in and Mavropanos, you go, no, that's a proper centre-half pairing. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You can see the massive shift that slipped down when Todibo come in a back two pairing. So, yeah, not that fussed about him, really.
Talk to me about Adama Traore. Obviously came in January, had a backstory with Nuno. A lot of people thought he was going to come in and probably be an impact sub more than anything else. What were your thoughts on how it turned out?
I'm going to say decent.
Okay.
But because, again, every time he was on the pitch, he was trying to make something happen. Could he have been used a little bit more? Maybe. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, unfortunately for him, Bowen and Somerville are going to be the nailed-on wingers. But there was a couple of times where I would have brought maybe Bowen inside or play Traore behind the front man, because there's no doubt about it. You know, when he's got the ball and running at you, there's not that many players in the Premier League that have got like that ability. It's just when the final ball comes or whatever. But, you know, and I'm just surprised that it seems we've let him go, because I think in the Championship, he would cause a mayhem. So, look, I think overall Traore was decent. And, yeah, I'm surprised that we're going to let him go.
You just mentioned Crysencio Somerville as you was going into your answer regarding Traore, and he's actually the next cab off the rank, Ben. Crysencio Somerville. Thoughts?
I'm going to have to say cream of the crop.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when he was fit, it was a huge threat. Scored some good goals. And I think he's a class player. Always liked him at Leeds. When we bought him, I've you know, really happy. It's just a shame we're probably going to struggle to keep hold of him. But again, it might be, look, he's young. We might be able to get 6 months out of him and say, look, give us a chance. And the fact that he's been in the Championship, do you know what I mean? It's a case that, you know, it's not like Somerville is a Champions League player. Well, you know, I think he's got that ability, to be honest, but it's not like he's been in the Champions League and he's thinking, oh, there's no way I'm going to the Championship. He's been there. You know, it's a case of, look, give us a bit of time. And, you know, I could be in the minority here. I know this might sound mental. If it meant we could keep Somerville, I'd sell Bowen.
Wow, okay.
I would, mate. I would, because I think Bowen's older. He's got less seasons ahead of him. Somerville's younger. And I think if I look at him ability-wise, I'd say Somerville's probably got slightly better ability. You know, I like Bowen's good, and he never let you down. But if I'm looking at pure sort of technical ability, I'd say Somerville's ceiling is higher than Bowen's. Do you get what I'm saying? So I just think I'd fight tooth and nail to keep Somerville, probably over every player in the team. Because
interesting.
Strictly because I think there's a chance we can keep him. Like we'll come on to some of the others, like Mateus Fernandes. I just think there's going to be a queue of top teams that want him, and there's no chance he stays. But Somerville, I think there might be.
Okay, fair. Talk to me about Mads Hermansen came in right at just before the season was about to start, and I think it's fair to say had an interesting first couple of games. Was then pulled out of the starting 11, came back in the latter stages of the season, and I think it's probably fair to say that the performances then were better than they were at the beginning of the season. Although, let's be fair, he didn't set the bar very high.
Yeah.
But talk to me about your thoughts on Mads Hermansen.
And that's it, Rob. Like, I think you can kind of forget the beginning of the season, but we've got to try and analyse the whole thing. So I'm going to say singularly underwhelming.
Okay.
Because we was getting pummeled and a lot of the goals were kind of, could have been saved, I think. So beginning of the season, he's not big enough for me, Rob. Like, he looks too small. Like, I want to.
Apparently, he's 6'2".
Yeah, I don't know. He just looks.
I think the tape measure must have been broken when they measured him, but there you go.
Yeah, but
maybe they bought it off a Del Boy.
But like I say, those first few games were pretty horrendous. I've always quite liked Areola. Do you know what I mean? And actually, that's Areola come in, and when Nuno bombed Areola halfway through the season, I don't think he'd really done much wrong. However, results did pick up when Hermansen come back in.
Well, all the clean sheets were with Hermansen between the sticks.
Yes.
Areola didn't keep one.
The thing is, I then think about that fucking stupid pass against Newcastle. Like, you know, that was just, before the game's just run away with us and we're down. It felt like, come on, we know you're like a ball playing goalie, but you don't have to do it every single time. Just think about the position we're in, how important this game is. So look, I think overall he was underwhelming. He might turn out to be a long-standing goalie for us and a really good one, but his first season was, decent at best, but underwhelming overall for me.
Fair enough. You mentioned a little earlier Mateus Fernandes. He's the next one to discuss.
Yeah. I think I can't put too many people in the cream of the crop because we fucking went down. You know what I mean?
Fair.
So I think he did himself proud. I think he's got, again, a bit like Hermansen, the first few games when he come in, I thought, well, what does this geezer do? Because he's quite small and he weren't really doing much at the beginning of the season. And then you started to understand what he's all about. And actually, there's nothing really that he can't do as a central midfielder. He puts his foot in. He's got an engine. He's a great passer. He can score a goal. Like, he pinged in a couple of top corner sort of weldies, didn't he? So look, mate, unbelievable talent. Who I think will probably, if he doesn't go already, he's going right. I sound like Harry Redknapp. He's going right to the very top. And I'm talking, mate, there's rumours that Real Madrid want him.
Yeah.
And
doesn't get any bigger than that.
But yeah, who knows? That might be a step too far too soon. But I think on his game, he's a fantastic central midfielder. So, he's still a young man. And even though we went down, it was a pleasure to watch him in a West Ham shirt in some of those games. I just wish that game against Arsenal, when he was through 1-on-1, he'd have buried it, and then we might be in a totally different position. But listen, the lad worked his socks off, and I rate him really highly.
The next player that I know your opinions on, they're a matter of some repute. Talk to me about Freddie Potts.
I think he's got to go in that did himself proud. Listen, he's still a young man going through the ranks. He's had a loan in League One, a loan in the Championship, and overall, look, you're playing in central midfield. That is the engine room. He come in, his debut, he was man of the match. I think, unfortunately, it was just we're in a relegation dogfight and we needed some experience in there, hence why he fell out and Souček come in. It was he done a silly challenge in the FA Cup and then got a red card and then was banned for 3 games. You know what I mean? There was a few silly rash moments in there, but overall, for a lad who's come through the youth setup, I think he's got the ability to be a Premier League player, and I think he will. In the Championship, I think he will be a top player. So, yeah, Freddie Potts did himself proud. I don't know what more people would want. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, let's say first season in the Premier League in central midfield, you're not going to start every game and be man of the match every game. Yeah, but I think he probably got 10 games under his belt.
Something like that.
Yeah, he got 10 games under his belt, and that's a very good first season in the Premier League, in my opinion.
One of the remaining heroes of that night in Prague, which seems like a lifetime ago now, Alphonse Areola. Talk to me.
You sound like Terry Tibbs from Phone Jacker.
Wooded Ladders. Talk to me.
I'm gonna say decent.
Okay.
Even though, like you said, we didn't keep a clean sheet, I don't recall many games where I feel we lost the game because of him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually think he's. I've always actually quite rated him as a goalie, but there's something just lacking to be a top goalie. You know what I mean? Whether that, whatever that is, and whether he stays or he goes, let's be real. Hermansen and Areola, you're not going to keep one of them on the bench in the Championship. There's no way. They're both on big money, so one of them's going to have to go. And you're probably thinking that's going to be Areola because he's older. He's probably on more money. So he's probably going to go. And it'll be a case of, thank you very much. You did all right, but it's time for you to leave.
Fair. I'm actually going to skip the next player that you can see there, purely for tactical reasons. Talk to me about Ollie Scholes.
I'm going to say... Well, it's definitely not in the top one, and for me, it's definitely not in the bottom 2. I'm inclined to say did himself proud.
I would be inclined to agree with that.
And I'm going to say, look, we brought in El Hadj Malik Diouf, and obviously in Scholes' position. The thing is, for me, the season before, Scholes was playing really well. Like, do you know what I mean? And then we brought in Malik Diouf for big money. He's gone in as the number 1. Then the AFCON come, and overall, Scholes done well. And defensively, we looked more solid with him in than Diouf. Obviously, he made the bad mistake against Fulham. Listen, show me someone who's never made a mistake, and I'll show you a liar. The thing is with Scholes, I think as a club we haven't managed him right. Because I would have had him out on loan at some point, whether that's last season or 2 seasons ago or the season just before. But
I agree.
Because there's always been this AFCON, they're like, no, we can't let him go because we need him. But that mistake against Fulham, if Scholes would have had a loan, he wouldn't have made that mistake. He's learning on the job. He's learning at the highest level, and unfortunately, he's made a mistake and he's cost us. But then he's come back in and puffed his chest out and put in a good performance. So for me, did he play amazing every game? No. But a young lad at that age, I wouldn't expect him to. And I still think, I would like to think, and I'm hopeful in the Championship, he'll be nailed on starting every week, and he will grow as a player into being a good. And mate, whether he's left back, he might even be left wing. You know, I think he's got the left peg. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit. Like, fuck me, we need to get him on a protein fucking diet and get him in. Do you know what? Because that's the thing. It's like he's got the footballing ability. I would say in pre-season, don't kick a ball. He just needs to be in the gym, bulking up, because he's got the ability on the ball. He just needs the physicality now.
Fair enough. I'm going to sort of skip the next one as well and go to the other guy you've just been talking about, the other left back, El Hadji Malik Diouf. What were your thoughts on him?
See, I think there's
big money signing. Potter's number one signing, I believe, is what I'm told. This was the guy that he was very adamant that we needed to sign.
Do you know what, Rob? I'm going to say decent.
Okay.
But because I think he got a lot of assists. I think we had a little conversation yesterday. I'm not sure you would put him in the decent category.
Nope.
But, you know, he got a lot of assists. He had a bit of an engine. He's still a young man. You know, he's a young player. First season in the Premier League. You know what I mean? But defensively, could switch off. You know, silly challenges, penalty against Brentford. You know, so I think, yeah, it was big money. He was decent. He's probably going to leave, and there we go. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thomas Souček, Ben.
Oh, did himself proud. Proud. I mean, he just grafts his nuts off, puts his head in places. You know, he's not the most technically, minded central midfielder, but he does what it says on the tin. And it's just he would be gutted that we went down. If he stays, I'm not sure. And do you know what? I kind of feel like it's probably time for him to go. Even though, like, I've got a lot of love and admiration for him, I just think with the likes of Potts, well, there's one player that I can't see on here, Rob.
Go on.
Kante.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, if you've got Fabianski on here, Rob, you should have.
I know.
All right, but what I'm getting at, I think with the likes of Potts, the likes of Magassa, the Kante, and I think as a signing, it might be good to get a central midfielder in that's used to the Championship, a young, like that Sidney Peck from Sheffield United. Because, so in my head, I'm thinking it might be good timing to say to Souček, actually, mate, if you want to stay in the Premier League, do it. You know what I mean? And we wish you the best, but we're going to try and mould our team in a different manner now because we need to rebuild.
Fair enough. Which leaves the last one, our incumbent captain, Jared Bowen. What are your thoughts?
It's got to be did himself proud, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be. Look, he come in with a fair amount of goals and assists. But there was just a couple of games towards the end. You know, am I right in saying did he score in the last game? He did, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I think it was like 10 games before that he didn't score a goal.
Yeah.
And I get he was hitting the post. He was doing it. You know, he was trying. It's never for the lack of trying with Jared Bowen. But what shocked me, and it wasn't just him, but that was that Newcastle game, Rob. Like that, I was, everything had been building up. I think Brentford had done us in the week before, or something like that, or we played Arsenal. But it was like, the Brentford game we hit the post 4 times. The Arsenal game we was unlucky and played well, and the Newcastle game I was just like, this is where we're going to come out all guns blazing, and we're staying up. And that performance shocked me. That it was just I was saying like Ian Bill. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. But Bowen's performance shocked me, mate. He was half the player that he usually is.
Yeah.
But look, and I don't buy this thing. Other people. Oh, he's been carrying the team. He ain't been carrying the fucking team. You look at that. Listen, overall, look, we went down, but look at all those players that I've said did themselves proud. There was a fair few, and the likes of Taty, Castellanos, some people were putting in the shift, but unfortunately, the manager we had at the beginning, it left us too much to fucking make up, and we went down. So Bowen did himself proud, and he, as a captain, he's kind of grown on me a little bit. But listen, we are where we are. He's a valuable asset. If someone comes in with a big money, I don't know how much we need to balance the books by. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's we're 150 million pounds in debt, thereabouts.
Yeah, but mate, I think all the clubs. I don't know how football clubs run. They all seem to be in debt. It's like, and every country is in debt, aren't they? You know what I mean? The maths don't make sense to the.
It's just whether you can service it, and I guess in the Premier League we could service that debt much more readily than we can if we're in the Champ. Now I know there's parachute payments, but they diminish over the course of 2-3 years. So
yeah. I was going to say a saying, and then I was going to say, the maths and the finances to the man on the street don't make sense. And you know the saying from the man from the Sex Pistols where he said, "Oh, we hear you're the band for the man on the street." Do you know what he said?
Go on.
It's a bit X-rated. He said, "Well, I've met the man on the street, and he's a cunt." But
excellent.
Mate. But listen, mate, that's where we're at. As you can see, but I think because we were fighting, and because we showed some fight under Nuno, there's more players in the decent and did themselves proud and cream of the crop than at the bottom, which is surprising considering we got relegated.
Yeah, I'm looking at that and thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, but for me, that's the thing, Rob. In the Premier League, all it takes is having two players underwhelming and you lose. Like, do you get what I'm saying? So that's what happened, mate. And but we'll be back. We'll fight on, and we'll be back.
Well, we got, as I say, three players in the cream of the crop in Taty, Disasi, and Somerville. Did himself proud. There sits Wilson, Herrick, Walker-Peters, Mavropanos, Fernandez, Potts, Scarles, Souček, and Bowen. Decent. Fabianski, Magassa, Traore, Areola, and Diouf. Singularly underwhelming, we've got Kilman, Todibo, and Hermansen. And a waste of a fiver, we've got Pablo and Wan Bissaka. Ben, thank you very much indeed for your input on this. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, mate. And then keep me. Yeah, we'll keep the momentum up, and maybe we have a few on the World Cup or whatever.
Cool. Right. Well, we're going to wrap this production up. As I say, guys, if you haven't, please make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification, drop a like on the stream, give us a hype, share us on your socials and all that good stuff. We will see you again soon. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.